Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you are tuning in right now, it means you're looking for a really clear, engaging, and incredibly thorough breakdown of today's cultural conversations.
Right, without all that overwhelming information overload.
Exactly. We know your time is valuable, whether you're prepping for a meeting, trying to catch up on the latest media discourse, or you're just insanely curious about how different people interpret the pop culture we all consume.
You are definitely in the right place.
Our mission here is really simple. We take a stack of sources, extract the core arguments, and serve as your expert guides to help you understand exactly what is being said.
And why it's being said.
Yeah, and what it actually means in the grand scheme of things.
And today we have a very specific, highly targeted stack of sources to look at.
We really do.
The core of our deep dive centers around a YouTube commentary by a creator named John Del Arroz. He offers a very detailed, highly critical, and explicitly political analysis of Netflix's live-action adaptation of the massively popular anime and manga series One Piece.
Specifically focusing on the newly released Season 2.
Right. But he actually traces his arguments all the way back to the show's inception and even looks ahead 3.
Which is fascinating. And we also have a brief linguistic guide titled The Phonetics of the Pirate King,
which we'll be using to clarify a few really interesting details along the way.
But before we dive in, a quick boundary check for today.
Yeah, this is important.
This source material gets highly political. So, as always, we aren't here to take sides, endorse, or condemn these viewpoints.
Whether you might categorize them as left-wing or right-wing.
Exactly. Our only job today is to unpack the architecture of this creator's argument exactly as he presents it to his audience.
So you, the listener, can understand the mechanics of this specific cultural debate.
We are just impartial guide exploring the blueprint of his comment.
Purely analytical.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core premise kicks off with a major event in the streaming world, which is Netflix dropping all 8 episodes of One Piece Season 2 all at once.
A massive release.
Right. And right out of the gate, the video points out a really fascinating phenomenon. Del Arroz notes that this new season has been met with immediate, overwhelming praise from across the entire political spectrum.
He explicitly states that.
He does. He says both anti-woke viewers and woke viewers alike are hailing the show because it remains incredibly faithful to the original One Piece story.
But, and this is key, this universal praise is exactly where he plants his flag.
Yeah, he argues that while it might be exceptionally well-crafted, it is fundamentally what he calls well-done propaganda.
Which introduces a brilliant conceptual knot for us to untangle today.
It really does.
Because how can a piece of media be simultaneously celebrated as a triumphant, faithful, well-done adaptation, but completely opposing cultural faction?
While being entirely dissected by this commentator as a vehicle for dangerous embedded social manipulation.
Exact. Del Arroz is essentially arguing that the high quality of the show is a smoke.
To understand how he builds this case, we really have to start by looking at the messenger himself.
Right. The video spends a significant amount of time establishing exactly who is delivering this critique.
It's not just a casual viewer with a webcam.
Not at all. He makes a very deliberate point of establishing his credential.
He doesn't just view himself as a critic who sits on the sidelines analyzing other people's work.
No, he identifies as a culture creator.
His main job, as he states to his audience, is creating new culture from the ground up.
He highlights his newsletter, which he uses to build a dedicated
community that he proudly notes is over 9,000 strong.
What's fascinating here is how he strategically positions himself in the market of ideas. He isn't just offering opinion.
He is offering alternative media.
Right. He's actively incentivizing this community building by offering his audience 3 completely free books just for signing up.
And he's very specific about the genres of those books. He lists a fantasy book, a sci-fi book, and a full superhero graphic novel.
He calls this the best deal on all of the internet.
He also goes out of his way to emphasize his work ethic,
calling himself a very, very prolific author who works really, really hard.
He even teases an upcoming release of his own titled Space Fleet Academy.
So when he critiques a massive global fantasy franchise like One Piece, he is demanding that his audience view his critique through the lens of a working writer.
He wants you to know he understands the mechanics of storytelling, character arcs, and world building from the inside out.
That framing is the absolute bedrock of his authority in this video.
Absolutely.
By positioning himself as a prolific author actively producing the exact same genres that dominate pop culture.
Fantasy, sci-fi, superhero.
Exactly. He's telling his audience, I know how the sausage is made. I know the tricks of the trade.
When he points out a narrative choice or character adaptation in a massive show like One, he is asking you to trust his analysis.
Not just as an observant fan, but as a fellow architect of genre fiction.
He's establishing a foundation of professional authority to lend heavyweight to the sweeping claims he's about to make.
And those claims get incredibly sweeping very quickly.
This brings us to the foundational theory of his entire worldview on modern media. He doesn't just think Netflix makes occasionally questionable artistic choices.
Far from it.
He asserts a very direct, literal connection between the highest levels of political power and the content you watch on your screen.
He makes the major, explicit claim that Netflix is actually owned by the Obama.
And because of this alleged ownership, he argues that absolutely every single piece of content on the platform, without exception, contains a piece of a specific top-down agenda.
Let's spend some time unpacking the mechanics of that argument.
We have to.
Because it's not just a passing comment, it's the lens through which he views the entire entertainment.
He claims the ultimate goal of this agenda is to socially manipulate the audience through the entertainment they are consuming.
He refers to the people orchestrating this agenda at the corporate level as community organizers at heart who have radical backgrounds.
He even brings in specific literature to back this up.
Which is really interesting.
He explicitly cites Saul Alinsky's book, Rules for Radicals.
He tells his audience flat out that if they haven't read Alinsky's book, they need.
Because it outlines the exact game plan that is currently being executed by the streaming giant.
Exactly. He's taking a well-known text on political organization and community activism
and applying it directly to the corporate strategy of a global entertainment distributor.
He argues that this radical organizing philosophy isn't just a political historical footnote.
It is now fundamentally embedded within the entire Netflix media network.
It is the operating system running in the background of every writer's room and casting department.
So it's a vast systemic claim. He's telling his audience that nothing they see on screen is an accident.
This isn't just a few rogue writers sneaking progressive themes into a script.
It's a deliberate, top-down, systemic game plan mandated from the highest levels of ownership.
And what's interesting is how he uses this grand theory to retroactively explain other pop culture phenomena.
How so?
Well, he points to this embedded radical agenda as the obvious reason why another massive Netflix hit, Stranger Things, went off the hook and went off the rails.
Oh, right.
He doesn't attribute the changing quality of Stranger Things to writers running out of ideas or actors aging out of their roles.
He draws a direct line from Alinsky's Rules for Radicals to the narrative shifts in Stranger.
And now he's applying that exact same systemic critique to the adaptation.
It's a totalizing theory of media.
In his analytical framework, artistic variance doesn't really exist at level.
Every casting choice, every thematic beat, every character adaptation is filtered through this lens of deliberate social engineering.
You really have to keep this grand theory in mind to understand his specific critiques regarding the characters.
Because to him, these aren't just characters.
They are delivery mechanisms for this ideology.
Which makes his deep dive into the characters of Season 1 so intense.
It does.
But before we get into his heavy cultural analysis of the protagonist, let's look at a fascinating little linguistic detail that popped up in our research.
I love it.
It's funny, throughout his entire commentary, Arroz repeatedly pronounces the main character's name as Luffy, rhyming with fluffy.
But if you look at the secondary source we pulled, the linguistic guide for the show,
it provides a quick phonetic fact check. The correct pronunciation of the Pirate King's name is actually Luffy.
Rhyming with goofy.
It's a tiny detail, but in the world of deep, passionate fan, especially anime and manga community, these phonetic nuances actually matter quite a bit.
It speaks to the intense level of detail, translation, and localization involved in bringing a decades-old Japanese prop to a global audience.
Purists care deeply about how these names are spoken.
It's a nice little palate cleanser to remember the sheer scale of adapting this property.
But it also highlights the friction that can occur when bridging different cultural texts.
Yes.
So returning to the commentary and looking at how this main character, Luffy, is framed.
The video points out a massive discrepancy between how Arroz interprets the core of the protagonist and how he claims the modern media ecos defining.
Let's break down that discrepancy. How does he define the character's original essence?
According to his reading of the source material, Luffy's character is fundamentally just a representation of kid-like joy.
He is essentially just like a kid, pure, adventurous, and uncomplicated by adult romantic entanglement.
But Arroz argues that modern media apparatuses simply cannot accept a character who is just chaste innocent.
He claims that the media is actively framing Luffy as an aromantic asexual.
This is a crucial pillar of his broader argument about the Alinsky-style game.
He claims that what he calls insane gender ideology forces modern media to sexualize, categorize, or attach complex gender and romantic labels to characters who, in his view, are simply meant to be chaste.
He argues that they take this pure kid-like joy and try to turn that into some weird sexual gender.
And he doesn't see this as an isolated incident. He explicitly says that's what they do with everything.
He views the labeling of Luffy as a romantic and asexual, not as a modern audience finding nuanced representation in a class,
but as a forced, top-down agenda being mapped onto a beloved property.
He sees this exact same agenda at play in the casting of the character Kobe from Season 1.
Let's look closely at the Kobe example because he uses very specific language here that is central to his entire critique of the show's production.
The video describes Kobe in the original manga as a somewhat effeminate male who eventually levels up.
It's a classic zero-to-hero character arc.
However, in the Netflix live-action adaptation, Kobe is played by an actor named Morgan Davies.
And Arroz describes Morgan Davies specifically as a real-life woman who pretends to be a man.
He then notes with intense disdain that the media has widely hailed Davies as a trans actor in a major role.
This raises an important question for us to consider, based strictly on the logic he is presenting to his audience.
How do casting choices transition from being behind-the-scenes production decisions into proxy battlegrounds for these mass?
If we follow his totalizing theory, a casting choice on a Netflix show is never just about who gave the best audition.
Or who had the best chemistry with the...
Precisely. In his framework, it is viewed as a deliberate, calculated ideology.
He contrasts the original text, an effeminate male who goes through a traditional, perhaps even conservative, hero's journey of leveling up into a strong man,
with the real-world casting of a trans actor.
For Arroz, this isn't an adaptation choice.
It's a subversion of the original character's identity to serve the overarching social manipulation agenda he outlined earlier.
The casting itself becomes the propaganda.
It's the Alinsky game plan manifesting in the casting director's office.
And that intense scrutiny of casting and underlying themes only accelerates when his commentary moves.
This season focuses heavily on what is known as the Alabasta arc.
And it introduces a crucial character named Princess Vivi.
According to the video, Vivi is played by an Indian woman named Karthra Chund.
Arroz immediately labels this casting decision as intentional race swapping.
And this specific casting choice apparently triggered a significant amount of backlash from certain segments of the fan base,
which then led to a highly public response from one of the show's actual stars.
This creates a real-world conflict that Arroz uses to further his thesis.
Exact. The video details a response from the show's female Emily Rudd.
When some fans criticized the casting of Karthra Chundra, Rudd apparently took to social media to blast those critical fans as racist.
She stated that perceived canon does not excuse blatant racism or hate of any kind.
But while that conflict is interesting, the commentary really zeroes in on the part that sets Arroz off.
Is when Rudd expressed how proud she was of the show, the cast, and the opportunity to bring to life a story centered around a diverse found family.
That phrase right there,
diverse found family,
is the absolute flashpoint for his anger in this section of the video.
He states outright to his audience that hearing those words from a lead actor scares you.
He views Emily Rudd using that phrase as a complete mask-off moment for the production.
We really need to dig into this because he spends a lot of energy attacking this specific narrative concept.
He calls found family the dumbest theme in all of modern television.
He claims it is being shoved into every freaking show currently being made.
But it's vital to understand that he isn't just saying it's a cliche or bad writing.
He genuinely believes it has a malicious societal...
Let's trace his logic there. How does a common narrative trope become malicious?
He argues that the intention of presenting a found family as a real, valid family unit is specifically designed to devalue actual, biological, traditional families in the...
He tells his audience directly, your real family is not a real family like everything else in TV these days.
He believes the media is trying to replace the concept of blood relatives with these diverse constructed...
It's a fascinating, highly specific critique of modern story.
If you look at narrative theory, the found family trope, where a group of disparate, often marginalized individuals come together to form a bond as strong as blood,
has been a staple of literature and television for decades.
You see it in Star Trek.
You see it in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
It's a pillar of sci-fi and fantasy.
But Arroz argues that in the current media landscape, under the umbrella of Netflix's corporate strategy, doing it in a specifically diverse manner is highly intentional and nefarious.
He argues that this theme is being weaponized to push diversity, equity, and inclusivity through storytelling.
By taking a massively incredibly popular Japanese property about a pirate crew and filtering it through this diverse found family lens.
He argues they are essentially Trojan horsing DEI concepts into the home viewer,
So that Western audiences will accept them more readily without realizing they're being taught a lesson.
But there is a massive logical hurdle he has to jump over here, which the video addressed.
The original creator of the One Piece manga, Eiichiro Oda, is notoriously involved in this live-action adaptation.
He has veto power.
And Oda is quoted as saying that all the casting for the show has been perfect so far.
He is completely fine with the diversity of the...
Right. So how does Del Arroz square the original creator's enthusiastic approval with his own claim that this adaptation is a typical Netflix abomination?
It seems like a contradiction.
If the creator loves it, how can it be a subversion of the creator's work?
He handles this by simply stating that Oda is a progressive.
By labeling the original Japanese creator as a progressive, Del Arroz attempts to neutralize Oda's endorsement entirely.
He's arguing to his audience that Oda's approval doesn't invalidate the theory that an agenda is present.
Rather, it just proves that Oda is personally sympathetic to that exact same progressive agenda.
It's a brilliant rhetorical move if you are trying to maintain the architecture of this grand theory.
And he connects this progressive mindset of the creator directly to his predictions for the actual plot of Season 2.
Because Season 2 features the Alabasta arc, which involves a desert kingdom and a monarchy.
Del Arroz is telling his viewers exactly what thematic elements to expect.
What is his prediction for how this arc will be adapted?
He predicts that the storyline will center heavily around modern representation.
But more specifically, he expects a very heavy-handed Netflix commentary on colonialism to be injected directly into the show's narrative.
Furthermore, he claims this anticipated anti-colonialism commentary is the exact reason why mainstream media outlets are acting so gleeful about the upcoming season.
You can really see the closed loop of his logic working here.
If the creator approves of the casting, it's because the creator is a progressive.
If the mainstream media is excited about a storyline involving a monarchy and a rebellion,
it's not because it's a thrilling pirate adventure.
It's because they are eagerly anticipating progressive commentary on colonialism.
Every piece of data, every quote, every review is interpreted as absolute confirmation of the underlying top-down, Obama-driven Netflix agenda.
There is no room for coincidence.
Here's where it gets really interesting. He doesn't just stop at Season 2.
He uses this momentum to look ahead to the already greenlit season.
And he deeply examines this media ecosystem he keeps bringing.
Del Arroz points to the early casting news for Season 3, specifically focusing on the character of Bon Clay.
The production has announced the casting of an actor named Cole Escola.
And just like with the casting of Kobe in Season 1, we need to look at how the video explicitly defines both the actor and the original character to understand.
The commentary notes that the actor, Cole Escola, goes by non-binary in their person.
Del Arroz then describes the original manga character of Bon Clay as a mentally ill man who declares that he's binary.
He sets up this stark contrast between his view of the character as mentally ill and the actor's lived identity.
Furthermore, he claims that the entertainment media is already actively hailing this casting.
And getting incredibly excited about how the character will be reimagined as non-binary for the modern live-action adaptation.
He uses this Season 3 casting as the ultimate proof of a compounding.
He points to this as evidence that Netflix has multiple trans representation and what he bluntly terms LGBTQ nonsense, all littered throughout the show.
Existing right alongside the race swapping going on in droves.
He is building a cumulative, undeniable case for his audience.
He's stacking Morgan Davies in Season 1, Karthra Chandran in Season 2, and now Cole Escola in Season 3.
He's arguing that the trajectory of the show isn't just adapting a story.
It is purposefully pushing further and further into this specific ideological territory with every new season.
And he claims that if you look at the mainstream media coverage, you can see exactly how happy the journalists are about this trajectory.
Let's analyze his view of that media coverage.
Because he clearly sees entertainment journalism not as an objective reporting body, but as an active participant in the social manipulation game.
The video provides a rapid-fire list of quotes and scores from mainstream media reviews to prove this point.
He cites IGN giving the show a massive 9 out of 10.
He cites Screen Rant, also giving it a 9 out of 10.
He quotes legendary review site Roger Ebert, saying the show sails into a grand line with swashbuckling Season 2.
He quotes Collider, calling the show near perfect.
Now, in a normal context, a creator or a fan might see overwhelming 9 out of 10s and near-perfect reviews from major outlets as a sign of universal acclaim.
It usually means the show is just objectively well-crafted television.
But Del Arroz reads this data completely differently.
He zeroes in on a very specific quote from Screen Rant to illustrate.
Screen Rant apparently stated in their review that One Piece is fixing the modern TV issue.
Del Arroz latches onto that phrase instantly.
He asks his audience, what does Screen Rant say about a modern TV issue? What did they fix out of this?
He implies that since these media outlets are, in his own words, always pushing the modern agenda with everything,
their claim that the show is fixing television is highly suspicious.
He argues that they don't actually explain what structural or narrative issue they are fixing.
Which leads him to his ultimate rule of thumb regarding media literacy.
That rule of thumb is essentially a warning system he's broadcasting to his audience.
He states that when mainstream outlets are overwhelmingly gleeful about a project,
and when they are handing out near-perfect 9 out of 10s and 10 out of 10s across the board,
it shouldn't be seen as a recommendation.
Instead, it should serve as a massive red flag to normal viewers.
So universal praise is actually a warning sign.
According to his analytical framework, yes.
The high scores are not an indicator of artistic merit or entertainment value.
They are an indicator of ideological alignment.
The media loves the show because the media shares the show's embedded woke agenda.
The echo chamber of positive reviews is just the system validating its own propaganda.
Which finally brings us to the true intellectual core of this entire deep dive.
The paradox of well-done propaganda.
And this is where the video presents a truly fascinating, almost jarring contradiction that forces you to rethink everything he just said.
After spending all this time detailing the top-down game plan, the forced gender ideology, the intentional race swapping,
the progressive creator neutralizing, and the complicit media ecosystem,
John Del Arroz openly and explicitly concedes that the show is actually highly acclaimed for a very good reason.
He states it plainly, saying, there's no doubt we're honest about everything here, that this is well-done cinema.
It's such a surprising pivot.
He genuinely praises the directing.
He says the production team successfully captures incredibly unique look original manga anime.
He notes that the show masters a very difficult tonal balance, a serious yet quirky style that perfectly fits the bizarre world building of Pirate Clown and Rubber Men.
He even admits that despite his issues with casting, they stay incredibly faithful.
He acknowledges essentially that as a piece of television, it is masterfully executed.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where Del Arroz's art evolves from a standard every culture into a much more sophisticated, almost insidious psychological.
Because he doesn't believe that high artistic quality negates the presence of an ideological agenda.
In fact, he believes the exact opposite.
He argues that the high quality makes the show infinitely more dangerous to the viewer.
To explain this concept to his audience, he contrasts One Piece shows that he considers to be obviously stupid and agenda.
He references a hypothetical or perhaps upcoming Starfleet Academy project, calling it an obvious disaster before.
He says that when a show is poorly written, when the dialogue is clunky, and it looks like it was generated by what he mockingly calls Chad GPT instead of Chat T,
the audience immediately notices the agenda.
When the writing is bad, the propaganda is visible.
Del Arroz argues that audiences have a visceral reaction of absolute rejection to poorly made propaganda.
When a message is ham-fisted or shoved into a scene unnaturally, viewers see the strings being pulled.
They recognize they are being lectured to, and they immediately tune out or turn the channel.
But One Piece is a different beast entirely.
One Piece is what he terms well-done propaganda.
And because it is so well done, Del Arroz says audiences have the exact opposite visceral reaction.
They sit down, they watch the great directing, they enjoy the faithful, swashbuckling storytelling, they marvel at the intricate world building.
And they think to themselves, well, it's not woke, it's just good.
And that assumption, the deeply held belief that good media and woke media are mutually exclusive categories,
is the exact psychological trap Del Arroz is trying to warn his audience about.
He tells them directly, just because it's well done doesn't mean it's not woke. It, in fact, is very woke. It's just well done woke.
So what does this all mean?
When you strip away the pirates in the anime context, what is the ultimate takeaway he is trying to impart to his 9,000-strong community of readers and viewers?
The ultimate danger, according to his entire commentary, is the danger of tuning out.
Del Arroz is arguing that the Alinsky-inspired corporate structure of Netflix relies entirely on its audience relaxing.
They want you to come home after a long day, let your guard down, sink into the couch, and just enjoy the cinematic quality of a fun pirate adventure.
Because when you stop actively monitoring the media you consume,
when you stop paying hyper-vigilant attention to the casting choice and the thematic undertones of found family and colonialism,
you start to slowly accept things.
The entertainment value is the vehicle for the manipulation.
Exactly. That is the social manipulation game plan in action.
The high artistic quality is simply the sugar used to make the ideological medicine go down.
His core thesis is that well done and woke are not contradictory terms.
They are, in this specific instance, working in perfect, highly dangerous harmony to alter the cultural landscape right under the...
As we wrap up this deep dive, let's quickly recap the extensive journey we've taken through this specific, highly critical source material.
We started by examining the foundational premise that Netflix, allegedly guided by an Obama-backed, Alinsky-inspired organizing game, uses every single piece of content for top-down.
We explored how John Del Arroz, carefully positioning himself as a prolific culture creator with industry insight, applied this grand theory to the live-action adaptation of One Piece.
We examined his specific, intensely scrutinized criticism.
The media's framing of Luffy's identity.
The casting of Morgan Davies.
The race swapping of Princess Vivi.
His profound disdain for the diverse found family narrative.
And his warnings about the future casting of Cole Escola as Bon Clay.
We saw how he views overwhelming praise from mainstream entertainment media not as a sign of quality, but as a giant red flag of ideology.
And finally, we unpacked his ultimate philosophical warning.
That the sheer cinematic excellence of One acts as a beautifully crafted Trojan horse.
Designed to lower the audience's critical defenses so they will slowly, unknowingly absorb an embedded cultural agenda.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a highly provocative question to mull over on your own.
A question inspired purely by the internal logic of the commentary we've just unpacked today.
If the ultimate danger of well-done propaganda is that its high artistic quality and sheer entertainment value cause us to naturally lower our critical defense,
how do we ever truly differentiate between simply enjoying a masterfully crafted story and slowly absorbing an embedded cultural agenda?
Can we ever just sit down, tune out, and watch a show again? Or does engaging with modern media now require a state of permanent, exhausting vigilance?
It is a heavy, complex question to consider the next time you fire up a streaming service and settle in for a binge watch.
We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.
We hope we've helped you unpack the architecture of these arguments clearly and thoughtfully. Keep questioning the media you consume, keep exploring multiple perspectives, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.